Hello, I am Debora Kayembe. I am the Rector of the University of Edinburgh.
Hi, Debora.
Hello.
Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for having me. Welcome to the University of Edinburgh.
Thank you. So, Debora, you recently made history by becoming the first Black person to be rector of the University of Edinburgh in 400 years of existence of this university. And on top of that, you are a lawyer by profession and also a human rights activist. So I was very excited when I heard about your story and I started researching you. And what was very interesting for me is not only the fact that you made history by becoming the first Black person to hold such a big position, but also the fact that less than 20 years ago, you actually came in the United Kingdom as an asylum seeker. So when the opportunity for me came to have a conversation with you, the first thing that came into my mind was to understand, get to know you a bit more, and actually learn about your background, your upbringing in DRC, to try to understand how or what shaped the person you are today. So the first question I have for you is, from what I read, you were actually raised by a relative from a very young age.
Yes. Yeah, I was raised by a relative at a very young age. My parents, my biological parents, may they rest in peace, split up. I was 2 years old, and I stayed with dad for a further 4 years until my aunt, younger sister to my father, came and took me under her care because my stepmother was very ruthless to me, and she wanted to start her own family without us, the children from my father's first marriage. So I went to live with my aunt and my uncle, or my parents, my whole life.
Were you the only one amongst your siblings to move in with your uncle and your auntie, or all your siblings moved together with you?
My siblings stayed with my father because they were much older than me. I was the youngest, so I was the only one that my aunt took with her. I went with my aunt, yeah.
Did you feel rejected by that? Did you think or did you question the fact that she took you only away from your dad and the rest of your siblings stayed with your dad?
I think at that time the circumstances were that my stepmom was ruthless. And as a young girl, I think my aunt had another girl, similar age than me. She had 4 children at that time, all boys and one girl. So she wanted a companion for her daughter where we were staying at her home. I did not feel rejected because at first I think I found a very stable family with my aunt, and they've been a very stable family throughout my years. And they gave me as much as they could give me, and I was quite very serious. I was quite conscious that what I had was not something taken for granted, that I might have been maybe luckier than my older siblings who stayed with my father in an environment where my stepmother was not welcoming for them.
So when you say you were very serious about it, you didn't take it for granted, what what did you do then while you were living with them?
First of all, there was this reminder that the environment where I was not hostile, but it was not my home. The further I was growing, the further I was realizing it was more and more not justified, but I was still being there around my aunt because it was my aunt's wish, but it wasn't feeling like home all the time. So there was a moment where I felt home, but there was a moment I did not feel it was home because there was no one to defend me there. Then very quickly I took conscience that I was on my own, and being on my own, it was important that I been conscious that people around me were my cousin, not directly my brothers and sisters, The parents around me were not mom and dad, but it was auntie and her husband in an environment of Africa where there is no social services, there is none of my blood-related brother and sister next to me. I had to be serious not to put my aunt on a difficult position within her marriage, to be the helping hand to her instead of being just a child.
So, what do you mean by not putting your aunt in a difficult position in her marriage?
I have to say, culture in Africa, when it comes to marriage, is very difficult to understand, and they are very complex. Many of the women in their marriage are supposed to serve their husbands. It's not an equal marriage issue like it is in this Occidental way of saying. They marry you because you're supposed to support your new family, your husband family, but when you bring somebody from your family to your husband family, it may become a problem regardless the way your husband family sees it. So I'm guessing I took conscience of that very quickly and then I realized, okay, this is not my home. This is not my family. My direct family is the family where I was raised. And if I misbehave, it might become a burden for my aunt. So I was careful in that way. Yeah.
And did you understand why your older siblings did not visit or did not provide any support to you? Because you say that you grew up with your aunt and your auntie, and from an early stage, you really felt like you were on your own, that you had nobody to support you. How can you explain the fact that your older siblings did not show up?
Neither my mother never showed up, neither my biological mother until she passed away. It was quite a strange environment where I was raised. My sibling never reacted on me in any way, never tried to reach out to me. What was going between the adults, I don't know. I was only a child, but I was on my own. That was the reality of my life. No one to write a letter, no one to send a note. Whether the letter was written or sent, maybe someone took them away, but there was nothing for me. It was just me in my aunt's house with my cousin that I have to consider as family.
So you were not in touch with your mother at all
No.
until she passed away?
No, I never been in touch with her until she passed
How
away.
old were you when she passed away?
I was 21.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So your auntie was literally a mother figure.
Yeah, she was
you.
definitely until today. She's definitely, yes, she was.
So I read somewhere that you say that from a young age you realized that education was your passport to freedom. Why is that?
Education became the key to my life when I was in the mid-primary school. Because when I went to school and the teacher was telling us, if you can read and write, nobody can read for you, nobody can write for you. And if anyone wants to lie to you, if you can read by yourself, you end up realizing what this person is telling me is true or untrue. So that was the first thing about something I learned about education, that nobody would say something to me that I have to verify themselves first. But you need to understand in which environment I was. I was in an environment where I was on my own. So education became my greatest ally. Whether my cousin will come a story or my aunt will come to a story to me, I'll have to assert that in some way. She said this, can I read somewhere? It's exactly what she said to me. These are the things that push me on this environment of loneliness to have an ally who was not human. It was just someone who was educated me on my own. It was the interaction with the education. That is the journey of education. And for me, it's become the key to everything for me, the key. What I took conscience that if I go further of education, I am always a winner. It was in high school. When I went to high school, then the teacher began to tell us the way people changed the world because they were fully educated. Because here you need to do the difference between being educated and being fully educated.
What's the difference for you?
The education, the basic education is to read and write. That's the basic education. But fully education is to be aware of reading any situation and making the assumption yourself without anybody telling you what you're supposed to do. And that goes toward the way you learn about life, to the teaching in school and to the education on the street, or to the interaction with the others. And for me, for a child who was most of the time staying at home, going to school and coming back your afternoon in the kitchens, doing all these shows and all that, the extra education for me was on the books.
So would you say that because you were so much focusing on your education, you didn't have friends? And what about your cousin? Did you live with them as brother and sister? How was the relationship? Did they see you as one of them or more as a distant relative who was living with them? How was the dynamic in the house?
The education in my house was friend were forbidden. So we did not, all of us as children in the house, we did not have friends. Our parents just didn't want us to have friends because we were from the Eastern Congo and we were living in West Congo, and the culture was very different. So in order to protect our identity, to protect our upbringing as Eastern people speaking Swahili, it was for us to avoid as much as friend we could avoid. So we were just friends between us at home. That was something, the first thing. For my cousin, I don't think they never look at me as a distant cousin. My cousin always look at me as the sister, because I went among them. I was very young, and there was 3 other children born after me, after I arrived in the family. So when they were born, that's his sister. Of course, things change when you brought up and people get teenage year. Then you can see some of them looking at the difference. But this is not my cousin. This is my cousin. But personally, I never pay attention to that because my own brother and sister had never been around. What do you want me to do? My own are not here. Why do I have to bother for those who are already here and seems to love me as much as they could give me? So really, I never pay attention to those. Should I have to call it small things? No, that was not essential for me. What was essential is for me to have a peaceful life, which was peaceful, and my education provided as much as it could provide it was enough for me.
So in terms of your education, did you, from a very young age, did you already have in mind how far you wanted to go, what you wanted to study, what you wanted to become? Because it seems that that was a very important area of your life, focusing on your education.
The first time I was told that I am good on law, it was in high school. Most of my teacher in the class will come and say, okay, when they will make a bait for the male student first. You become an engineer, you become, and then when they finish at the end, oh, Debora, be a lawyer. When you go to university, you need to go to law school. You must go to law school. That was, it was the wish of all my teacher. But I was passionate about the rights of people. I was passionate about a society where people live peacefully. I was passionate about having less abuse in a society because, my peace was disturbed at such a young age. For my mother to walk away from me at 2 years old, that was a disturbance of peace in my life. So this kind of thing, I was already very well aware that we could stop this in some level, and we must stop this as soon as we can. And that was the way I saw life. Going to law school, getting the education as a lawyer was not a matter of revenge for me. It was a matter of changing the world where I was read. That was very important. Yeah.
You mentioned that amongst your teacher, you were already very popular. They saw you as a potential or future successful lawyer. Did you rise in popularity amongst the young people as well? Would you say that around that time your social life changed as well a bit?
Already in high school, in the school, I was very popular. I was very popular because of my opinions, very popular on my leadership skills. That's already in high school. It was very clear that I had a bright future. So people knew who Debora Kayembe is. And you can just have a debate at high school, I'll always be selected. What was strange about the selection? Those select male, the only woman we selected will be me. That's how I start, getting very quickly to people around me, people around the community sees me someone who has a future, a rising star. It was then in high school, yeah.
So, based on that, Deborah, would you say that you were a natural leader or you learn it?
I was both natural leader and learned to be a leader. Because in my society, a woman in the Congolese society, at that time I was raised, a woman, she belonged to the kitchen, nowhere else. So I have to build my own stand to build it. But again, the gift of being a leader was already on me. Yeah.
So, you said in the Congolese society, the place of a woman belongs in the kitchen. So, how did you overcome maybe potential setback throughout your education to finish your study or to become a lawyer, for example, given the fact that you were in a country where being a woman was probably a challenge?
I think being determined was one of them. Just being determined of going ahead with your education. I'm going to give you an example. My parents were very comfortable to pay for my study in primary school, in secondary school. Then we went to university. The first 3 years of undergraduate, they seem to pay, but they're still looking at you, okay, we are paying this until where? When you finish the undergraduate, you're no longer going to school. It was very clear, And then when we had the undergraduate, it was over. No more school. And the parents just said that, no more school, because if you continue further, no one will marry you. So the priority here for the girls is to be married. So no more school, it's enough. But they're still giving us money because they were wealthy, And me and my cousin would say, okay, we still have 2 more years to finish everything, We should still going to university. And we begin going to university without telling our parents, continue, until someone discovered it. And they went to report us to our parents. We saw your girls. They are in the same class than our boys. They're still going to school. So our parent would call us and said, you guys still going to school? Yes, we still. So then my father took conscience. He said, because they still love what they're doing, let them do it. So from now on, don't go hiding. I will take you myself to school. And this is how we continue and we finish our education. But in my family, I was probably the first girl to finish law school, the first girl to go to law school. Then for them, it became very complicated when I was about to take steps to professional career as a lawyer. When I said, oh, Mom, I need to go to this place and stay there, because if I don't stay there for 2 years for internship, no one is going to give me access to the bar. Oh, Mom, I have to do this. Mom, we need to buy this. So for my parents, it just became a bit too much. You're growing, your chance to be married is going down, and now you're still going on these things. And it becomes very complicated. Why? Because no one in the family has done this path before. So I become a pioneer for my own family to going further into education. So although with so much difficulty, with so much, obstacles, I managed to get to the bar. Then I started earning money, so it became less problematic for my parents because I was earning my own money. And I was quite a successful lawyer. So for my family, the reputation, the funding, the money just became a good thing. And I continue and I continue and continue. And the problem was all over there.
And as working as a lawyer,
Yeah.
do you think there's the saying that once a woman is well educated, she's not thinking of marriage was justified with you? Does it mean were you just only focusing on your career, or you also had somebody in your life? Were you married? Did you have, were you in a relationship around that time?
And around that time, I was in a relationship. But again, listen to me very carefully. The context of being married as an African woman is very difficult. You can have a partner who understands your ambition on your profession, as well as you can have a partner who does not understand your ambition. Not to mention the stereotype in the society. Having a woman who goes meeting man, sitting in a restaurant, eating in a restaurant, it seems to be a taboo. It's still really a problem in DRC. And that was one of the problems I have faced then. I would go meet people of all kind of life, and people can judge you just because of the lifestyle you have. It's very complicated. And that was another challenge at that time. For me, I put on hold for a long time marrying my partner just because I wanted to get to what is essential on my profession.
Because you felt like by marrying him, he will rob you of that opportunity because of who he was, or because of how the culture was in DRC, or both?
It was because of both, because of who he was, because he was not really prepared for a woman of my stand when it comes to being determined to go further, and because of the cultural differences and the cultural stereotyping that we're facing. So I put that on hold. Even though I did put that on hold, it did not save me to having attacks. What you doing with this girl? All this year, she goes on with man studying and doing this thing, doing this thing. What are you doing with this girl? Find the girl that can marry, put in the house, and then settle together. That was the thing we've been saying all the time. For my parents is, okay, she studied, she finished education. Why should we stop her to do what she's doing? That she did the education to get where she is, right? Let her go. If they can go on with the relationship, or if they cannot, that's fine. We've already done what we're supposed to do. That was for my parents. And for a moment, I think they felt very disappointed because there was no dowry, there is no marriage, which is one of the reasons many of the girls in the DRC are still be subject of. It was just a girl, going far on TV and, getting human rights, but no marriage, no children, 27, 26, no marriage, no children. For my parents, it became, okay, this is a disaster.
But your fiance was educated as well?
He was, but still very much on the macho side of Congolese man, very macho man.
So are we saying that in the Congolese culture, and maybe perhaps in most of the African culture as well, a man can be highly educated, but the culture can hold him back? And is it what you experience with him?
Yes, I have experienced that with him. He could be very well educated, but the culture, the family, the mother-in-law, the sister-in-law, the way they sees you, it affects their brothers, and he can play on that. Yes.
So why did you agree to marry him at the end then?
Well, everything I wanted to do, I accomplished it. I accomplished everything. My internship, my profession as a lawyer. I went to the 2 hours internship as a lawyer. I'm fully qualified. I have a profession. I am stable. I'm ready to marry. But at that time, I'm 28, which is very, very late in the Congo, in a country like Congo. And then my first child is born, I'm 30. Some people say even in America it's late.
Okay, and then civil war break down again in your country, and you are part of some peace talk. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
The civil war broke, and the country was divided in two. There was some part of Eastern Congo was no longer occupied. So in order to restore the country together and to restore peace, there is a peace talk that is organized by Thabo Mbeki. Started first with Nelson Mandela, then Thabo Mbeki in South Africa, in Sin City. So I am selected as an advisor for the civil society, 26 years old. Big, very big. My parents just, wow, are you going to the talk? Yes, I'm going to the talk. It's a matter of dignity and pride for my family. I am on the peace talk. And we go to the peace talk, and if a president is chosen, 4 vice presidents, an independent commission are set up, and the Human Rights Independent Commission is set up, and I am the special advisor to the president. Only 27. That is in the Congo.
Who was then president in the Congo?
Mr. Joseph Kabila was the president, and he had 4 vice presidents. But there was an independent commission, one for reconciliation, one for the election to prepare the next election, and one for human rights to investigate the human rights abuse that was made during the war. And this is where I was the special envoy of the president.
And then what happened?
Then I advised the president to travel to Eastern Congo where the massacre took place and to have an investigation there. So that was the first ever investigation after the war. But the war was still stop and go. So we get there and we come back in Kinshasa with a report. I disagree with the president the way to handle the report. That was the first thing. I disagree with the president the way to handle the report. And then I took my own way with human rights activists to get the report ready to be published, where I was advised that you're in danger, you have to go. So I left.
So you were at the peak of your career, peak of your personal life, and you are advised to go. So what was your first thought? And how, I mean, who told you to go? How did it all happen?
Very quickly. It went very quickly, and I was advised by my human rights colleague, my human rights activist in the Congo, who have been helping many other human rights activists to leave the country before. So I was not the first human rights activist to leave DRC. So there was many. There's one who in December who left 2 years earlier than me. He was already in trouble, so he left. So this time I left because my colleague told me, I mean, you're here, you're not going to survive this here. And I left.
So you left?
Yeah.
Under what circumstances did you leave?
Well, really was the colleague tell us, you're in danger. We have arranged for you to go out. And I followed the protocol that many has followed before me, and that brought me to the UK.
And was it that bad? Like, when I say was it that bad, what could have happened to you if you had stayed, if you had decided to stay in your country?
I could have lost my life because my colleague lost their lives. You know, my colleague lost their life tragically and prematurely. And I think for many years when I was here in the UK, when I was hearing news that my colleague some were being killed, some just died mysteriously, I was grateful I was still alive, I was still alive. Because and then for many years in the UK, I did not really get back for what happened in DRC. I wanted to forget for a moment because they were very heavy things. Then when I reached this new role as rector, I understood maybe it was the destiny that was brought up to me to get here.
Now I would like to focus a bit more on by the time you leave DRC and you get to the United Kingdom. As an asylum seeker, you're still with your husband. You have 2 children, 2 young children. How was your experience when you first landed in the United Kingdom?
I mean, the United Kingdom at that time was known as a country of neutrality compared to the regime in the Congo. It's also known as a country with a fabulous record of human rights. I'm guessing that is one of the reasons, you know, my colleague thought it was good for me to come here, even though I was not speaking any English, not a single word of English. So I arrived here in February, and it was dark, it was cold, and then they bring any coats. So it was really a slap on the face, a different way. And then settling here as an asylum seeker was a life without dignity, without respect. You could introduce yourself to someone and say, my name is Debora Kayembe and I'm a lawyer from the Democratic Republic of Congo. They will doubt you. They will not believe you. You present your qualification from the university. They will not recognize your university. I mean, it was a very tough time. You have no right to work. You know, you stay at home in a house where sometimes there's an electricity, there is no electricity. Imagine you came from a big house with servants and to a small apartment where you have to ask for everything. I mean, it was humiliative. It was tough, very, very tough.
So, Debora, you moved to the United Kingdom after having a very successful career in DRC as a lawyer, a very successful personal life as well. And how does it feel to get to another country and to feel like nobody?
How does it feel to get to another country to feel like nobody? You emptied. Your dignity is taken away from you. Suddenly, maybe 7, 8 months ago, you were at the top of your life thinking, I have the capacity, I am respected, and suddenly you lose everything just because you're in a foreign land. How do you feel how do you think I felt? I felt completely taken away, completely emptied. The strength of just being a human to wake up in the morning and your mental health is just thinking, okay, I'm going to this place again. Here we go. I will be humiliated again. It was difficult, very difficult.
What did you do to overcome that moment? What did you do to deal with that difficult time in your life?
That was something that I discovered only in the UK and it wasn't available in Africa. The National Health Service, this beautiful thing we have in this country. Going to the doctor and trying to be as humble as possible to explain my feelings and to explain how bad I feel. So I was very lucky. I had extraordinary GPs with their background, a refugee who came here before and was successful to become GPs. They put me into counseling. I mean, my mental health was being looked after properly, really properly. I had counseling in this country, mental health counseling. And then coming to the idea that I have to reinvent myself, because after all, the powerful, successful Debora Kayembe from the Congo is no more.
What do you mean is no more?
Because every time I approach someone from this country, he does not see that Debora Kayembe, he sees an asylum seeker. And the idea in this country that being an asylum seeker is a threat to the livelihood, is a threat to security, is it this bias and this self-accusation because you're an asylum seeker, you're a danger for this country. So I have to reinvent myself. Being an asylum seeker, I did not refuse my condition as an asylum seeker, but I have to reinvent. I no longer have what I have in DRC. I have to reinvent myself and being constructive for this place. But remember, I did the same exercise back when I went to my aunt's house. The same exercise. It's not my place. It's not my home. Not all of them may be happy to see me. Not all of his brother and sister-in-law accepted me. I have to reinvent myself. So the exercise was already there, and I just have to do it in another context, and I continue.
So what did you do to reinvent the new Debora Kayembe?
First of all, I learned the language because I came here. I wasn't speaking any English, so I learned the language. And I was very lucky because I had ordinary people around me who provided some support to me, like Sky TV with a subtitle to learn English very quickly. When I have the opportunity to learn, English freely, I'll go to learn English in English class and come back. These are things that have made me, okay, what can I give? What do I have in my hands? I have my language skills. I can still help the community with the language skills. I can help the asylum seeker and refugee with my language skills. On my first 2 years as asylum seeker, I was doing the interpretation and translation freely because I was not allowed to earn any money. And then when I become a refugee and have a right to have a job, so I started up my interpreting and translation company, for which I was very good because I'm a lawyer. My personal capacity was so good. My knowledge of Africa was so good. So as an interpreter, I was very successful. So I reinvent myself. This is not where I am as the woman. I was a fully qualified lawyer in DRC, doing whatever I wanted to do with law. But there was just the language skills, the interpretation and the translation.
So what I pick up from what you're saying is, you were happy to do it for free for 2 years.
Yes.
Because
an asylum seeker in this country is not allowed to work.
But did you somehow thought that later you would be able to be paid for that? Or you did it just to keep yourself busy while you were thinking of different ways to reinvent yourself?
Both. So it was a way to keep myself busy and useful to the community, but also something to prepare me when I'll be able to earn money. I've already have a baggage of experience, so I can continue with that. So it was both options for me in the table. I consider that this way.
What is interesting for me here is the fact that obviously you train as a lawyer, and you arrive in a country where your qualification is not recognized, and you're looking for another way to earn money, to reinvent yourself, and you're looking at another set of skills you have, which are languages. So I'm guessing you speak many languages.
I was brought up four lingual, so I was brought up speaking French, Lingala, Swahili, and Kikongo, four languages. And then when I married my husband, who was from the Bakongo and they speak Portuguese, I learned Portuguese because my in-laws would not tolerate a woman not speaking Portuguese, so I learned Portuguese. And then my traditional dialect is Kiluba, so I have to speak it with my aunt and where she was staying. And then I had English when I arrived. So English is the last language I've learned at 30.
So you learned English at the age of 30?
Yes, not before that.
Wow. And when you set up your own translating business, you were doing work in all these Congolese language plus Portuguese and plus English as well.
Well, you need to understand Swahili is not only spoken to Congo, it's spoken into Tanzania, it's spoken into Rwanda, it's spoken in Burundi, it's spoken, in several places in Somali. So Swahili is quite dominant here for the asylum seekers. The biggest community of refugees in the United States are Congolese, and the majority of them come from Eastern Congo. So when you have Eastern Congo, you have three variants of Swahili, which I speak, all three variants. So when the Americans discovered my skill, there were people, American were the one who just took me in because I was just something they have never seen before. There's someone they have never worked before. And it was fantastic. My interpreting company just went, I was earning more than a lawyer was practicing in this country, wow, which was really good.
So were you only practicing in the UK or in the United States as well? You mentioned American.
Yes, I was practicing in the UK, in the United States, and Africa. So
in Africa, in DRC, or all over Africa?
All over the corner of Africa where all the refugee camps are there, where the America are doing a resettlement program. So I was working with the American and UK refugee resettlement program, and they are all in Malawi, they are in Rwanda, they are in Tanzania, they are in other places in the corner of Africa.
Okay, so during that time, setting up your translating business, how was your personal life? What about your relationship with your husband, yourself as a woman, as a mother?
So I was when I became a refugee, my children were 2 and 1. My marriage collapsed immediately. Just like 5 months after I became a refugee. So we were all granted refugee status, but my marriage collapsed. It was a difficult marriage. We just reached the breaking point, even when we were still asylum seeker, but it was difficult to separate in that time. So I think the fact that we were granted refugees in a common agreement, it was better for us to separate ways. So I don't even want to mention anything about it because it's past. It has passed. I'm not the only woman in the world who went through that process. So it didn't work. He has left. So it was only me and the children. That was the big challenge.
So how were you managing that idea of rebuilding yourself, building a successful business, but also being a single mom? How were you able to juggle both responsibilities?
They were all three responsibility was important to me. There was no one better than the other one or important than the other one. They were all important to me. So I have learned to manage in between. But also I had friends. I had the support of my friends. They were English, they were Scots, they were all nationality. So I was very lucky to have friends who were coming to my rescue, while I was still an asylum seeker. And when I was granted refugee status, they're still with me. But what was quite extraordinary about this is that I did use childcare to cope with all the need I had. So there was a moment where childcare could not respond. My friend would take over my children to watch over them. But the majority of the time, my children were being taken care by the system that we have in the country for childcare. And that took millions of pounds from me. But again, it was that or put putting my children in a place of danger or putting them in an insecure relationship, which I didn't want to go through. I remember at that time there was this scandal about baby Peter, where the baby, a woman was in a relationship with the boyfriend, and at the time she was going to work, she'll give the child to the boyfriend who was abusing the baby until the baby dies. That was something I said, I don't want my children to go through this. So it was a choice for me to find a right partner who can look after my children. Unfortunately, I could not find, because more I was going into life on my business, the thing expanding, my campaigning for human rights expanding. It went so fast that I couldn't find a space for a partner in my life.
Oh, so you were still campaigning for human rights as well at the same time?
Yes. I mean, the abuse that I faced as an asylum seeker pushed me to reconnect with my campaigning. But then I was not talking about DRC. I was only talking about the reality of being an asylum seeker and refugee in this country. This is why I concentrated my effort. And also there was the fact that I was interpreting almost every day for refugees, and listening the stories of the abuse they were facing throughout the system was really something that gave my campaigning for refugees an excellent turnout. I can go to a meeting and people talking about the refugees say, listen, today, this is what I went through during an interview. This is the story of someone I've been following for the last 4 years. This is how they end up. So I had fresh, true, and verifiable, accurate stories about refugees from my work as an interpreter to share about on the table of policymakers. So that made me really the person to refer to. I was a reference for many people for the work of the refugees, for the issue of refugees, for the accurate, verifiable data about the refugees and asylum seekers. So that made me really the complete person that you need to refer to.
And where did that take you? How far did that take you?
Oh, it took me first of all to go over continent. Running 16 states in the United States of America. Working with me, and it took me straight to the Scottish Refugee Council when I moved to Scotland this time. At the Scottish Refugee Council, I went there to ask for an interview to tell them my story as a refugee. But the story was much more about why did I left DRC. That was really because people seems to see refugee coming and they don't have an argument to understand why these refugees are still coming. It was important for people to know exactly what happened in my country because there was quite an ignorance about that. And then when I came to the Scottish Refugee Council, I was enrolled to this program of refugee speakers. Everywhere I was going, it was that sparking curiosity from people. I never heard about this before. Oh, this is the first time I heard about a refugee. I never heard about this before. It was that the reaction like that, curiosity. From that curiosity, the Scottish Refugee Council thought I was very good to become a board member of the Scottish Refugee Council. That means that to make decisions on governance concerning the organization. So during the second year of my mandate, which was a 3-year mandate, the chief executive at that time we said, okay, Debora, I think the Young Academy of Scotland are looking for people to join the Young Academy, which is a body of young, bright mind of Scotland meet together to discuss policies and submit the views to the policymakers. Okay, so then I was invited at the Young Academy. The minute I get to the Young Academy, I am just from the Young Academy. But the Royal Society of Edinburgh, who has fellows, is interesting on me. They are interested about what I have to tell them about Africa. They are interested to hear my story as a refugee, but also the stories of others, for which I become a voice for so many years, to tell practical example about how the refugees survive the system here in the UK and in America.
So what impact or what role has the Royal Society of Edinburgh in the United Kingdom?
It influences policies in United Kingdom. I know it's based in Scotland. It works directly with the Scottish government on the devolved matter. You have people meeting together, discussing issues of devolved matter and see how we can adapt that. But it also have an influence on the all policies making in the UK. So I am not a fellow of the Royal Society of Edinburgh, but I think I have achieved more than a fellow of the Royal Society of Edinburgh, because it was just something is happening. We need someone from the minority. Deborah, can you come and sit in this working group? Something is happening in the country. Brexit is happening. Deborah, can you come and sit in this room? Do this, do this, do this all the time, and that really put me on the spotlight of many places.
So while you were doing that, you were still running your translating business.
Always, yes, always, always.
So how did it happen, you being elected as the rector of the University of Edinburgh?
I think I owe my election to my activism, as a woman who fought for the right for everyone to be here equally, not to forget the silent majority, and the woman who has spent many years voicing for the voiceless. I mean, doing the work of the refugees and being able to work alongside the refugee and being their voice has contributed to that. And that is a certain thing, something for certain. I personally never planned to be rector of Edinburgh University. It has never been something in my plan. After the death of George Floyd, it was clear that all Black people who has get into a level of society were targeted by the far right. Mm-hmm. And I was targeted by the far right. Not because I did something about the Black Lives Matter, because they knew already, at the Royal Society of Edinburgh, you have a voice of a Black person who has been listened. Mm. So I was attacked for no reason. I didn't know what I've done wrong to be attacked. So my car was ambushed and almost caused me to crash and die. So when I realized that there was this ambush, I have to stand and raise my voice and talk about the things that I've been victim in Scotland for racism for a long time. Mm. For the reason I stayed quiet, because I thought, okay, no one can always accept you. Remember this. I've been brought up through that system for a long time. No one can always accept you. But the truth is, we can't continue like this.
You grew up thinking not everybody can accept you, but then...
Yeah, not everybody can accept you. So is in Scotland. You cannot have everybody agreeing with you. But what is certain is the right of people to live freely and to be respected is a right inherent to all the people around the world. Mm. So this is where I went about this. And I started with a Facebook post. But what I did not know, how many people were connected with me on Facebook. I wanted something to be very quiet. I didn't want anything big. But on this Facebook post, through my friend, we were less than 3,000 at that time. And I said, I woke up this morning, I get into my car. The car was ambushed with the nails on the tires. I almost crashed. It looks very much that people doesn't want me in Scotland. But if you don't want me in Scotland, come to my house and tell me. Get your gun and shoot me if you can. But please, do not do this to me, because I've contributed in this Scotland better than any one of you. I mean, it was a very direct message. And I say, come to the table, come and speak with me. Mm. I mean, the reaction was surprising. And I don't know, how surprised I was the way people reacted to that.
How? What do you mean surprised?
I mean, people were just... No, I was surprised, not the people. People came to me in solidarity, and I was surprised about that solidarity. They came to me in solidarity. They came to support me. So I was surprised the way people reacted in solidarity. That was my surprise, because I thought, okay, maybe people read, but I was surprised. And from there, I launched the Freedom War Campaign. The Freedom War Campaign was that it's a civil rights movement where, as civilized people, we live one another by respecting each other. And if we are in the community, we need to live in harmony. We can't just live in the community hating each other. And the reaction was quite positive. Not only quite positive in Scotland, the movement traveled all the way to the UK, went to every corner of the world. People from Colombia, from Peru, will reach out to me to say, we heard about the Freedom War campaign and we are going to be with you. Texas in the United States, places where you can never believe people are supporting you. People are coming back to you. So that was it, until the day my daughter had the incident at school, Sophie, where they asked her to perform a slave dance in the front of her, fellow pupils. That came to my head like, boom. Okay, I launched the Freedom War campaign. That wasn't enough. My daughter still be treating like this at school. Okay, we're gonna do something stronger than that. Second campaign, petitioning for an anti-racist education in Scotland. So the petition also was really a boom everywhere in the world. People keep reacting positively to it. And I continue through the Freedom War campaign offering a dialogue. Instead of me being angry and aggressive, it's not what I did. I ask, come to me, let's talk. Let's speak each other. Let's understand each other. Maybe it's the best way to go on with this. I think that was the reason why the students and staff at the University of Edinburgh picked me as the next rector. I all went just from there.
So you were basically approached and asked to be the leader of this university.
It was around 7 p.m. I received a Facebook message saying, Deborah, we have something to talk to you. Could you please send us your email address? The person who contacted me, I said, but this person is from the University of Edinburgh. What do I have to do with the University of Edinburgh? At that level, what do I have to do with the University of Edinburgh? And I sent my email, and the following morning, the email comes and saying, Deborah, we are the representative of staff and students and trade union at the University of Edinburgh. And soon the next rector of the university will be elected. That was September 2020. On February 2021, there will be a new rector, and we thought that we could approach you to ask you if you will be happy to help us for you to become our next rector. I think I read the email and then I put the telephone down, crap. And I said, what is this about? I just couldn't. I remember writing to my mentor at the Royal Society of Edinburgh, writing to two people I knew at the Young Academy, who were also rector here, just to ask, what is this about? Why me? And one of them came back to me and said, Deborah, I don't recall any person of color being rector of Edinburgh University. No, I don't think there's ever, my mentor said, Deborah, I think you deserve that. And I think it's about time for you to use what you are doing, the kind of work you're doing at university level. It'd be a good thing to do. I think it's a good thing to do. You need to accept it. It took me another 7 days to think about that. But for me, it was, okay, maybe Scotland will react, but never meant to see Africa reacting the way Africa's reacted, or Congo, or the rest of the world. For me, it was just, okay, I think it will be something for Scotland, just for them to hear a person of color is rector of the University of Edinburgh. The support was there. Everyone from the team that came to me asked me to stand as a rector. They were ready to work, ready to campaign, and some other former rector joined the campaign. They wanted me to become rector. So they were looking at me for me to announce I'm candidate. I never said that because I was just afraid about the reaction. Remember, I've already been attacked just because my portrait was a Royal Society of Edinburgh. My children have been attacked. So the backlash on me was already heavy. And there was a moment, it was just very difficult for me to wake up in the morning because of the attack I was receiving throughout the Freedom War campaign and denouncing racism. So when it was a time for me to announce that I am the next candidate to become rector. I refused to announce that. And the team just looking at me and said, is she going to tell everybody she wants to become rector of university? I didn't. It was difficult. I kept it for me. I didn't want to share it with anybody. Until we start collecting signature, because I needed 40 signatures to confirm that I am candidate. Until the deadline for the signature came, I have collected 52 signatures. From there, then I started to say, okay, I think we are making it. So I start informing some people that I am certain they will back me. I am certain they'll give me a good advice, but not everybody, not going publicly. Still silent. I'm now looking back, I'm thinking maybe at that time, if I've noticed that, it could never have been a big shock like it has become a shock on the day of the election. So what happened is the deadline for candidate was on the 2nd of February 2021. And if this candidate are validated on the 2nd of February 2021, then there will be a campaign that will go until the end of February. And on the 1st of March, the rector will be elected and she will start immediately. Until the deadline, 2nd of February, we're all waiting to see who is the candidate who's going to challenge me. 12:30, an email, boom. Debora, I am writing to inform you that you are the only candidate, Rector of Edinburgh University, and hereby to proclaim you de facto Rector of Edinburgh University. That is the 2nd of February at 12:30. I'm soon going to send messages, inform some other people about your election, your appointment, and then we're going to make a public I finished to read the email. My children were at school. I sat in my office in the house, went on the stairs, sat on the stairs, looking at the stairs door until 3:30 when the children came in, and I said, I've been elected. I'm the rector of Edinburgh University. My children just jumped on me, Mom, congratulations, congratulations. And my son said, how are you feeling, Mom? How are you feeling? I don't know. I have no feelings. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about this. I kept the news for 24 hours. The following morning, I called my family in DRC and I announced them that my family lost their mind. They went telling everybody, and the news just went. Oof. Before the university make the announcement, the news was all over the DRC, people jumping, celebrating. Until the 3rd in the afternoon when the university finally, make an announcement and things came. Very touched by the way first the DRC reacted and the rest of the world. On the media, I spent 10 days in constant, those lighting and journalists coming and going. And then I realized, okay, a big step has been done to the world today. And I accept this role as a rector humbly, because I think if we make history and we want to make people to the rest of the world understand that you can do things by still being humbled, by still being kind, we are building a better world.
Wow. I'm a bit speechless listening to the whole story. You've been into the role for 2 years now.
Almost 2 years, yes.
Almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Are you happy with what you've achieved so far? Or what's the plan for the rest of your term?
I am very happy with what I've achieved within the university. First of all, in terms of respect, because this was many things that were lacking here. The respect of each other, the respect of our views, the respect of who we are. There was a crisis of identity when I came here, a deep crisis of identity, which I managed to handle really with a lot of challenges, but we're getting there. Some of the views of minorities were not being listened. Now they're being listened to. This is the university who stayed on the 20th best ranking in the world, 20th for the last 6 years. In less than 2 years, we are the 15th best in the world. This is a milestone, a milestone. Not only last week, we become the first university in the UK in sustainability. This is the best, rating university can dream of, and 4th in the world. So we're making progress. And I think this legacy will be always there saying, under a new rector, an unusual rector, a rector who was very different than any other rector, the university shook the world. That's how I'm proud of to say that.
And in terms of next, what would be next for you? Are you thinking of maybe, I don't know, writing a book? Or are you mentoring young aspiring lawyer? Are you mentoring women?
I'm already doing that while I'm still rector, mentoring and orienting, supporting young lawyers here in this university. I am already doing that. Whether they are black or white, I'm already doing that. But I think the next things for me is whatever come, I will take it. That's how I see it. Whatever come, I'll take it, because many people think that me being here, it's realizing the impossible. And when you realize the impossible, there will be more impossible come, because people realize you're capable of handling the impossible. So I am ready for anything that will come, as long as it keeps me on my role as mother to my children, which is a role I respect and I love deeply, and that gives me another development on my own. That's how I see it. My personal development is very important to me. I will continue to work to develop my capacities, my skills. I'll never give up. We learn every day. We don't change the way of learning. We learn every day. But I see myself having a very bright future. What it's going to be, I don't know. But as Debora Kayembe, as a person, I am happy. That's the most important.
And just one thing, in terms of your country of origin, DRC, do you see yourself ever going back there to live there now that you've been able to raise a high profile outside of the DRC? Would you like to work in different sort of capacity in your country of origin?
Going back to DRC is always be a question for me to return, because I will return in DRC. It's my home, it's my country, it's my place. I will return. The question here is, when can I return? You know how hard it is for me to be rector of this university, how busy I can be. And I mean, the little distraction I can have on this role, where everyone is watching me, everyone is at me, it's very difficult to balance. So I have to be careful in this role. But I will return in DRC. I will become prime minister in DRC. I'll become president in DRC. All these options in my table. I mean, the people of Congo just are waiting for me to return first to celebrate what I have achieved. Just for the celebration. They want me back there, but they also want my intelligence, my capacity to be used for the good of the Congolese people. I've already started doing it here in this university, in this country. I will continue to do it when I go to DRC. So DRC is very much in my pocket. It will always be there.
So talking about that, since you still have your country in your heart, just to finish, if you had to give some piece of advice to somebody like me, a young African woman, looking at you, or even somebody based in Africa, whether they're a woman or man, but an African person looking at you, looking at your achievement, where you came from, and where you are sitting now, what would be the advice you would give?
First of all, you need to be true to yourself. Do not change who you are. Just because you go in a foreign land, just because you brought up in a foreign land, just because you're forced to be in a foreign land. Be true to yourself. Don't change. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is be determined. Do not let anyone tell you that you cannot do it, or you don't have the capacity. Remember, if you have the capacity to do something, believe that you will do it. Never say never. That is how I have lived my life. I don't pay attention to mean comments. I don't pay attention to people who are throwing the fingers on me. You are this, you are that. I don't pay attention to that. I know who I am, I know my worth, and I know what I am capable to do. That is what is important now. People who come to you try to manipulate you or try to get you in their side because you're successful, because you represent something. Stick on who you are. Be yourself. Don't follow left, right, because people will only respect you when they see that you stand your grounds and you know exactly what you are doing.
Wow. So if people wanted to reach out, to connect, where can they find you, Debora?
I have a WordPress account. So if you want to contact Debora directly, you go to Debora Kayembe at WordPress. You find me there. You can send me an email. I will receive the email and I'll respond to you by email only. Not WhatsApp, please.
Sure. And are you on any other form of social platform for people who would like to follow you?
I am on Twitter with D Kayembe. I realize now there's many Debora Kayembe on Twitter now, but I am D Kayembe in capital. So on Twitter, I am on Facebook as a public figure. I have a page on Facebook as a public figure, Debora Kayembe, FSCR, Fellow of the Royal Society of Art, Manufacture and Commerce. And I am on LinkedIn as Debora Kayembe. If you go to LinkedIn, you find me as Debora Kayembe. So I'm on all this social media. You can reach me there and ask me any questions.
And no Instagram?
I am on Instagram, of course. I'm on Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
Debora, thank you so much. It was very insightful as a conversation. I take it personally for myself. Going through your life experience, I did learn a lot and I feel really inspired. And I think I will keep following you because I'm convinced that there is more to your story.
Thank
And
you
I'm
so much.
convinced that you'll
Thank
do
you.
more than what you're doing at the moment.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you guys coming all the way from London to be with me here. Thank you to Michael. Thank you to yourself for this afternoon here at University of Edinburgh. It was really, really great to have you. Thank you, guys. God bless you.